Well, let's start with that. I mean, I read the statement yesterday, especially after this most recently released body cam video of the shooting. We get it. You say the law is the law. Marcy's law is here. You fought back against it. It's here. It's been created. But I think the pushback from the public is they still do believe it's being used as a cloak to protect officers in situations like this. And what do you have to say to that?
I would say again, the law is the law. There was a conversation that was had in regards to, you do know that this is, going to be the outcome in regards to some incidents like this. It was upheld, and so for us, we are a law enforcement agency, so we have to follow the law. However, again, we want to be as transparent as possible, which is why we released the video. Even with the blurbs, we wanted to be able to give as much information as possible, understanding the frustration of the community and understanding, the reason why we have body-worn cameras, the reason why we created a civilian review board, the reason why we have these things in place was to be able to have that transparency and have that accountability. We also have to understand that when they make laws like this and they make the decision to say that, this is what we're going to do, we have to follow that. However, people have the ability to be able to go and talk to legislation. They have the ability to be able to go have that conversation, understanding that we just have to follow the law at this time.
And I think you need to look at the track record. So before Marcy's law, there was very quick turnaround and transparency. This chief and I are committed to transparency and accountability. So every time there was a police involved shooting, anytime we had body-worn camera footage before Marcy's law, that information was shared quickly and transparently, because we're big believers the best way to make our community and our officers safer is being transparent and accountable. So if you look at the track record, we've been committed to this. It's because of Marcy's law and legal advice from the city attorney that we've had to handle this differently this time around. And again, the state legislature was told by law enforcement, by prosecutors, when they were developing this legislation, that this could have an impact. It clearly is having an impact. They didn't listen then. Our hope is that they'll listen now and fix this.
Do you think that could actually happen, that with any pushback they would change their minds and roll back on it?
I'd encourage the public. They call it the Ohio Revised Code for a reason. It continues to be revised and changed over time. And our hope is that the legislature will listen to the public. We have a track record of accountability and transparency. We're we're committed to that in the future. But the legislature is going to have to update and change Marcy's law based on feedback from police, prosecutors, and others in law enforcement to make it right.
Well, speaking of the legislature, the power of the people, and your own power to go there and fight for effective change, one of the biggest issues in the city right now, and it's not beating a dead horse because it is escalating, is the issue with the Kia boys. And people in the city feel like they're living in Columbus, which is a city of crime and no consequences for these kids. And I'm sure there's frustration from your officers, Chief, who go out and arrest the same kids over and over again, only to have them released and back out on the street committing the crime within days. That has to be frustrating for you.
Oh, it's absolutely frustrating for us. And we've been talking to the judges, we've been talking to the prosecutor's office. We've been having those conversations because we have to figure this out. It's not, the answer is not to just release. We have to figure out how do we address the concern to be able to stop them from committing these crimes. So we understand the frustration. Our officers are professional. They continue to do the work. They're not going to stop doing the work. But it is frustrating when you arrest the same kid 3 nights in a row.
Yeah, the chief and I have been meeting with judges and prosecutors and others, letting them know, this is really hurting morale. If young people are getting back to their neighborhoods before our officers are getting back to their beat, that's a problem. And it's reaching a level that we need judges and prosecutors to step up and do their job and hold these kids accountable. Clearly, the ankle monitoring system with juveniles is not working. And so we need them to step up, and we're willing to work with them. But we need young people who are engaged in escalating violent behavior and dangerous activity to be held accountable.
It does often feel, though, and I hear what you're saying about it, there's a runaround here, because then when we go to the judges, they claim the laws aren't there to support them. And that makes me wonder why you aren't going to the legislature as this city leader and saying, We need consequences. We need these laws changed, and these kids need to know consequences, and that's how they stop.
Well, I think there are plenty of laws in place. I mean, what we're looking at here is when you have children, continuing to engage in escalating violent behavior, whether it's stealing cars, armed robberies, use of guns and crimes, there are plenty of laws in place. We need prosecutors and judges to do their job and make sure that kids that are on dangerous, violent paths are held accountable and get the services, support, and resources they need.
Jessica, just time for one more. I'm sorry.
Okay. What is your frustration, Mayor? I know there's a lot of feedback from the community, and they just feel like the city is being soft on crime. And what do you have to say to that?
I don't think that's true when you look at the record, when you take a look at what our officers are doing, the investments we're making, 34 graduates today, a class of 40 starting in the next couple of months. We'll have more officers on the street by the end of next year than ever before. We are taking a comprehensive approach, prevention, intervention, and enforcement. Creating the Office of Violence Prevention, the Columbus Violence Reduction Strategy, based on renowned criminologist David Kennedy's recommendations about going after, we know there are fewer than 500 people that are committing about 50% of the violence. And so getting those folks on the right path or introducing them to city, county, federal prosecutors in the state to let them know that we are going to put them away for long periods of time if they continue with this violent activity. The uptick in homicides you've seen this year are almost completely attributable to homicides involving domestic violence situations. So continuing to push the community to share information about resources available to folks that are facing domestic violence. That's how we're going to continue to make this city safe in the future.